Tom, what do we know?
Yeah, Rish, so this is a vaccine that's produced by a unit of Sinopharm. As you say, the shares are rallying today on the back of this approval. The unit is called the China National Biotec Group, or CNBG. Now, they were given emergency use approval back in July. They've now today been given official use to roll this out for the general public. And we heard from Chinese officials saying, for example, that since December the 15th, they've vaccinated 3 million people here in China already. They said that the new variant, the new mutant variant of the virus, that doesn't seem to affect the vaccine, according to evidence that they've seen. They also said that they have the output to meet the demand to inoculate the general public. They've said previously, Chinese officials, that they do want to create herd immunity here. And again, it's a reminder, Sinopharm is the state-backed drug maker here. It's a big beast in terms of the push to develop vaccines. And it's a reminder of just how determined China is to be a leader in terms of the production and supply of vaccines to tackle COVID-19, not just for its domestic population, but internationally as well.
All right, Tom, we were speaking earlier to Paul Tambaya from the NUS Yong Lu Lin School here in Singapore and speaking to him as well about the vaccine that China has approved. Let's just take a listen to what he said.
The big concern is that China only has a very limited number of pre-qualified vaccines which go through the manufacturing process and the rigorous WHO scrutiny. So they have, I think it's 6 or 7 vaccines which are WHO pre-qualified in comparison with other countries, for example, India, Indonesia, and Korea, which have close to a dozen each. So the key question has got to be the scrutiny of the vaccine.
And Tom, so I guess the challenge as well is convincing people to take the vaccine and the affordability front.
Absolutely. So on the first question, the convincing of the population domestically, that will be a challenge. As we say, officials have already said they've already inoculated 3 million people here, so they're making some progress. But the reason it'll be a challenge is because historically there have been scandals around pharmaceutical companies in China. And so when you speak to people here, there is a deep-seated concern still about just the safety levels of some of these vaccines. So China will have to push through that. There's a question as well around how transparent they've been, and certainly compared to the likes of their Western peers, Pfizer and Moderna, for example, AstraZeneca as well. China has not been as transparent about its trial data. And of course, that does raise questions then for some about the efficacy and about the safety. Now, they've said that they will publish that data at a later point, but there will be, you would have thought, particularly from those international countries, the other countries that are buying up this vaccine, that demand to see that data pretty quickly. In terms of the cost factor, yes, look, this is going to be a vaccine that will be easier to get out in terms of supply chains because it doesn't have to be kept at these very, very low temperatures. It's not part of this mRNA technology that Moderna and Pfizer have used. So in that respect, it's a benefit, and that is why you've seen a lot of emerging markets, countries in Latin America, for example, but also in Asia, signing up to get access to this vaccine. Just recently, in terms of the data, you just had a red flag. You had the likes of the UAE saying that, look, this CNBG vaccine is effective in 86% of those who were vaccinated, and then China came out and said actually it's 79.3%. So it's those kind of discrepancies that cause concern.
Tom, also, I think they have an ambitious effort in Beijing to inoculate 50 million people ahead of the Lunar New Year. Now, that's quite a challenge, but one would assume that it's actually quite achievable given how quickly and how many people they were able to test in a very short period of time.
That's right. So they may use the testing infrastructure that, again, as you point to, has been put to use with quite significant efficacy in the last few months to clamp down on some clusters that we've seen in the west of the country, the northeast of the country. They've really leveraged that system of testing, mass testing in a very short amount of time. They can use that infrastructure potentially to help roll out these vaccines. Of course, the population here is huge, 1.3, 1.4 billion people. They have said that, as you point to, in terms of leading up to the Lunar New Year holidays, they do want to get as many people vaccinated as possible. possible, specifically frontline workers and those state-owned companies have already been vaccinated, a number of them, but also frontline workers, those working in logistics, as well as healthcare, of course. So there is that push, and they will be hoping that they can leverage that infrastructure that they already have in place around testing for the vaccine itself.